Going in 10. 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, guys? Message of the week this week is we train for the unknown and unknowable. Today, Garrett, Megan, and Samantha are going to join me on this topic, and we're going to start with how you would brief this in a class. Just a quick little overview of what we're going to be talking today. Garrett, you get to start.
We start with training for the unknown, the unknowable. CrossFit, we preach constantly varied functional movement, performed over broad times and modal domain. And I like to kind of touch on the fact is we don't exclude anything in here, right? We try to bring in as much as possible, trying to cover as many bases as we physically can within the four walls of this gym. And also getting across that it's not random, it's varied, right? So it may be constantly different movements, but we are having somewhat of a plan to it. Like we're not just like throwing things in there and going, okay, here's 20 minutes, go for it. So we do kind of have a purpose and a guideline to that, which some of the programmers here can talk more to, but yeah, that's kind of where I usually start kind of touching in there. So
Yeah.
With this topic, first of all, training for the unknown and unknowable means that you are training for the circumstances in life that you cannot predict, cannot plan. They come about and you're in the situation and have to see what happens. And so being physically prepared for just about anything is important. I love to refer to the example of when CrossFit first started getting started, it was, for people who are in very high capacity careers. So I like to point to like firefighters. A lot of them, if you have a wall fall on top of you while you're fighting a fire, like, do you have the ability to press it off of yourself? Or if you're falling out of a building, do you have the ability to pull yourself up and into it? Like, people who have a lot more physically demanding jobs in life, or, if you get in a car crash and you have to pry the door off, like, literally you have an opportunity in the CrossFit gym to build strength, to build endurance, to be able to do things in life that kind of make you superhuman, in my opinion. So
Great.
definitely above average.
Samantha?
With a short brief for this one, so we train for the unknown and the unknowable. Basically, when we're inside the walls of this gym, we are creating a safe space to push your body and your limits in a way that can prepare you for what might happen outside of the walls of this gym. So this is like a little controlled environment that can allow your body to adapt and be prepared for whatever life might throw your way.
Great. I love that. All right. So let's get right into it with just defining it a little bit more. What does it mean when we say unknown and unknowable? What does that mean?
I mean, unknown and unknown. I mean, they're essentially like the similar, very same thing, but it's truly like you don't know what's going to come your way, right? Like it's an unknown challenge in your life, unknown obstacle that you're going to face, and trying to prepare yourself as best as possible, right? Get that good GPP or general physical preparedness, right? So anything that comes your way, you have some semblance of being ready for it, right? It's kind of how the way I would look at that. So
I think a lot of people think of this in a like dramatic sense, and not that that is incorrect, right? Like we still are talking about the firefighters, the military, etc. But it also can include things that are a little less dramatic that might randomly come up on a weekend or something that you might agree to, right? Like we want, if people are like, hey, let's go on a hike this weekend, that you're going to be able to endure that task without being stressed that you're not going to make it through the hike, right? So it like still includes some of those. That's like a less extreme example of the unknown and unknowable, but it's like, somebody invites you to do something and you're able to do it physically.
Yeah. I think that's really important to touch on too, is it doesn't have to be dramatic, because a lot of the things in the world right now, it's not as dramatic. Like the unknown and unknowable aren't as dramatic in the everyday lives of people in here, which is why it does pertain to everybody in here, and not just the firefighters and all those people, even though it's also really great for them to be physically fit. We want to emphasize that it's great for everyone to be physically fit for a lot of different reasons.
You could almost look at it, it's like it's outside your routine.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
like, and I think that's part of the 100 words, right? It's like routine is the death, right? So say you're a landscaper, right? Every day you're spent picking up, carrying things, but you might have to go for a run for some whatever reason, and like you're prepared to do that, right? So it's like getting things that are outside of your normal routine and preparing yourself for that. So
And then I think on top of that, like we just never know what's going to happen to us, right? Injury comes up, things might happen. And the more physically prepared you are for things such as like injury or illness or anything like that, the better that you're going to be able to handle those challenges.
To that.
And I think it provides a sense of confidence and freedom to go about your day too, and not be constantly timid of, I can't pick that up off the floor. I'm going to throw my back out. Just things that literally cannot be predicted. You have the confidence to be like, okay, I can be a capable human being in every aspect of life. Maybe not like super highly skilled in everything, but it's a broad flexibility that you can carry.
Yeah, I love that. Something that I was actually thinking about yesterday that pertains to this as well is it also prepares us for the moments of unpredictability of like when we get sick. For instance, like we say fitness is a hedge against sickness. I would also turn that and be like, fitness is I guess I don't know the word, helps us recover better, right? It prepares us to recover from something maybe unknown that could happen to us. Or like, we talked about this in another podcast, being like, okay, I'm 70 years old and I'm starting to get sick. Am I able to recover from that? Or is that beating me down and I'm bedridden, right? So I think that also training this way and getting your heart and your lungs and your bodily functions working well and properly and strong is also a way to train for the unknown and unknowable of that kind of side of things.
I had heard a perspective once about CrossFit that obviously stuck with me to this day, but it's even beyond physically in a mental aspect. It's like, for me, I come in the morning and it's kind of like the hardest part of my day. So I come in here and I challenge myself and I'm feeling that like physical pain, that's productive pain, but it's like you come in here and that's how you adapt. You kind of force that discomfort. So then when you head into the rest of your day or the rest of your week, it's like everything else in that day feels easier because you've already done the hardest part of your day. So
Yeah, I like that. Anyone else wants to say on these two definitions? Okay, we're going to get in, we kind of already discussed this a little bit, but how does this style of training support us as, support our independence as individuals?
anybody else want to start?
I think Meg had kind of touched on this, but it's like you just never, life is so unpredictable and you never know when you might need to be able to do things alone or when changes to yourself or your circumstances might happen. And the more prepared you are to be able to like she said, like move things around, or even like as simple as like walking to get yourself something, or I don't know, lift 50 pounds, right? Like the more able you are to do those things, the less burdened you're going to feel when some challenges might come up in your life, right? Because like you have at least the physical capability to take care of your environment.
I would also add, like, majority of the work that we do in here, although it is a class setting, you're doing it independently, right? You're gaining more confidence as an individual to do things. You have a watchful eye of the coaches that are here to be able to lead and guide you and maybe help you when you stumble a little bit, but you're gaining more physical confidence, more mental confidence to be able to do activities with your body, right? You're doing it all yourself, right? We have very little machines in here for the most part, so it's very dynamic in function and on its own, right? You're not just sitting on a curling machine doing this, kind of in the corner listening to your music. So you're gaining that kind of confidence, and you're also gaining some vulnerability too, because you're exposing yourself to different failures and things like that, right? So like trying to do muscle ups, or you're trying to lift something heavy and you fail. It's like, it's okay. You're in a safe environment to do those things. And now you've greater kind of developed your confidence and understanding of like, okay, what is my limits? You know, and every day we're growing our limits, hopefully in a positive direction. Right. So that's the kind of the way I would look at that. So.
Yeah, I feel like there's times in my life when I like do something independently and I like kind of relate it to like a CrossFit thing. Like, for instance, my chocolate lab is 90 pounds and sometimes he won't jump in the car.
Yeah.
So like I have to like get under him like a front squat and pick him up. And I'm like, that's pretty cool that I can do that.
Yeah.
Like pick him up without even thinking about it and put him in the car if he's being a baby. Right. Or like sometimes I always joke with Josh, like this is dramatic, but like I'll like do something on my own and be like, this is just a reminder that I don't need a man. Like just as a joke.
Yeah.
But it's also true. It's like it is really it's cool to see yourself in the real world putting the things that we do in here into use.
Right.
And I feel like that it's cool to recognize those things outside of here.
Yeah, something I was kind of digesting over here was just how empowering it feels as a woman to be strong and to train for things that like typically you would have to rely on a man for, and that's great. But it's like if I'm home alone, for example, the other day we had a huge dresser dropped off in the front of our house. I had to leave. Jack wasn't home, and I wanted it to be in the house so it didn't get stolen. So I just picked it right up, dragged it into the house, and at the same time, like, I'm pregnant. Most people are like, don't lift that chair. But it's like, if you're training regularly and you're building that strength, it's like you can just, everything else in your life, you can be more like capable and independent about because you've practiced it so many times.
Yeah, that's great. I love that story.
And you're probably doing it with proper technique too.
As much as you can with a big dresser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like you, like I said, like you just never know what's going to happen. And so I hear a lot of people that are like, when would I ever have to do X in the real world? And while that might be true, the more it's kind of like the more your fitness is built up, the more you have a hedge against sickness. It's like the more skill set you have and the more strength you have and all those things, the more you're going to be able to do if part of your body doesn't work anymore, right? So it's like, for example, when I had my knee injury, could I have gotten through life without having to do a pistol squat or without having to do a handstand? Those are common ones where people are like, when would you ever have to single leg squat? It's like, well, yeah, but it was so much easier that I could get down on the ground and up off the ground with one leg, right? It was so much easier that I had enough upper body strength to hold my whole body weight that I could move throughout the world and like get up, into the tub, out of the tub, move through, hold myself on crutches, etc. And then on top of that, it made it so much more fun when I came back to training that like I had all those high-end skills. So it was like I came back and I could still pull up and I could still toes to bar and I could still handstand and I could still X, Y, and Z because then I had that and the scales for all of the times that I wasn't using my leg, where if I just only had like those baseline level of things, it would have been so extremely repetitive. And that's fine, but it's just like the more that you can build up, whether it's skill, strength, etc., the more if something unfortunately happens to your body, you're gonna have to like combat your environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to add to
Go for
that,
it.
I recently saw a funny video. It was they were saying, when would I ever need to do a bar muscle up?
Yeah.
And it was a 90-year-old woman escaping a nursing home, scaling a fence and muscling up over the top. And I was like, there you go. Like that was 100% perfect. And she was like 90 trying to get out of this nursing home.
That's funny too. I was actually just thinking of the muscle up as well. And it's like, when am I ever gonna have to do a muscle up? But like, has anyone ever gone out of a pool before?
Yeah.
Because it's like similar.
So hard.
Yeah, you're the water's help lifting you up. Thank goodness, right? Like, but you're still doing that same motion of getting up and out of the pool. But that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was thinking like another extreme example is like a handstand push-up.
Yeah.
When am I ever gonna be upside down on my head and for some reason need to press out? I hear you, right? Like I hear that. But if you have enough upper body strength to be fully inverted and be able to press yourself out, the likelihood that you can press yourself out of a burpee easier is less, right? The stronger we can be in these movements, the less difficult the prior progressions are, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it might not be functional, but it is in other ways.
Yeah.
Or even just pressing things out, like putting a box away overhead. Like, you know, you have
For sure.
decorations and stuff and you're going to put them up on a tall shelf. It's like, that is a handstand push-up, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing. And you're just using your body weight to do it rather than some other type of extraneous weight, right? So it's very applicable for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you guys say, just for fun, this wasn't a question, is some of the most applicable movements that we do in here?
Burpee,
Yeah, I mean,
deadlift,
There's a
squat.
lot.
Would you put farmer carry in that?
Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
That's
yeah,
the one
yeah.
that I was thinking.
Yeah.
Farmer carry, even just like a sandbag carry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Carry of
I
sorts.
would say, yeah. I mean, that's part of it. It's right. It's push, pull, carry as long and as fast as you can, right? So those are the foundational. I mean, all the foundational movements that we do, I don't know that one's more important than the other. They're all applicable in life. They're natural in life, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see this with our kids' development. You're going to see how they kind of go through all of those things. So, but yeah, I mean, the burpee is a good example because that's an independent standard.
Yeah.
So for independent living, you have to be able to go from a laid down position to a standing position. That is a burpee, right?
It's really good.
You know,
Well, it's like the famous, like, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
I never want that to be me.
no,
I want to be able to do a burpee until I die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I would also say sit-ups. Now that I have an obstacle, every day I get out of bed, I'm like, wow.
oh, interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
you get out of bed every morning. So
Yeah. I would go as far as to say like any odd object movement we do because most of the time you are not going to come up to something that you need to carry and it's going to be equal weights on each side and
Yeah.
it's not going to be the length of a barbell
I
and
like that,
it's
yeah.
not going to be that. But I mean, obviously we train that way still, but yeah, I would say odd object things are one too.
Yeah.
and I would say, I mean, you look at even just like the clean as a movement, like the power development for a clean,
Mm-hmm.
very important. Snatch could go either way with that, but the clean itself, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still a really good. I mean, it definitely challenges your range of motion and everything. But the clean, I would say, the clean and the jerk are even better for power development and stability. So, but
Samantha, what do you have to say on that?
I mean, yeah, you can obviously move more load. I think people that are working towards the ability to do a snatch are going to have less shoulder problems
Yeah.
in the long term, which I think shoulder mobility and overhead mobility and stability are very underdeveloped in a lot of the older population.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the longer you can maintain your snatch, even if it's not heavy. Now I agree with Garrett that like obviously you're going to produce more power with the clean, right? But I think more people should work towards continuing to improve their overhead stability and mobility, which is done very well with the snatch.
I think another
especially a dumbbell snatch
Ooh,
with the open chain to that, like
like that.
yeah,
I would say too, like with the clean, I think you can get away with the clean a little bit easier, the clean and the jerk, without perfect power production. Whereas with the snatch, it's a lot harder if you don't have the power production to be able to hit a snatch. Faking it. Not that we fake our cleans, but it is a lot easier to.
your technique can be a little bit sloppier on a clean than it can be. Yeah.
I will never forget in my Bergener weightlifting course, they were like, a clean is a strength lift and a snatch is a skill lift or a technique lift.
I like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I got us off topic.
Hey, it's all good. You know?
It was with the topic. So the next thing to talk about is increasing fitness is the goal of CrossFit. That is work capacity across broad times and modal domains. How does this definition of fitness support the message of training for the unknown and unknowable?
Well, I think the definition of fitness itself is like being good at anything in life, right? And I think that just like goes hand in hand with everything we've talked about so far. We want you to be good at a wide range of things, regardless of what type of thing it is, right? Which is then preparing you for the unknown and unknowable.
yeah.
I like that.
I would say like the broad time, the constantly varied aspects of it. If you look at someone who's an insane swimmer, they've trained for it their whole life, Olympic level, like they specialize in that. But if you would ask them to squat clean a super heavy barbell, they might not be able to. And so the idea of like staying kind of average at everything is more beneficial for you than being specialized in one thing, like the best in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And I recently just looked up the definition again because I always got it confused. But your work capacity, right? It's power, which is force times distance divided by time, right? We're talking about how we're keeping it unknown and unknowable, right? So if you want to increase that and make it more applicable, you have to look at those variabilities and how do we improve those to give you the most optimum output, right? So you're looking at what the force you're using, how long you're doing it, or the distance you're moving and how quickly you're doing it, right? So we try to vary all of those things to help improve on those areas and things like that. So yeah.
What I like about you getting into that definition with this, Garrett, is I feel like it then circles back to what we were talking about with the clean and the snatch. Because I do think a lot of people are like, when would I ever like clean or snatch in real life? And it's like exactly, especially the snatch. And this was, I think, your point with the clean being a little bit more quote unquote directly functional. It's like, exactly doing that? Probably not. Like you're not going to have something that's exactly a barbell that you're going to have to snatch overhead to get right. You're probably going to like pop it up to your shoulder and then do a little like it's going to look more like a clean and jerk. However, if you are more proficient at a wide variety of movements that are producing power through your body, it's going to transfer to other things outside of the gym. Directly a one-to-one? No, of course not. But the skill set that you're developing and like our 10 general physical skills are going to be there for you to do other tasks.
Absolutely. I think we've all been talking a lot about like this helps you with quality of life overall throughout time, but we've kind of also been talking about like bare minimum quality of life, like getting up off the ground and walking and going to the bathroom, which is not bare minimum, but it's like we want to make sure we can do those things forever. Whereas let's go on like the complete opposite end of that is like, okay, yeah, you may not have to ever run for 30 minutes, but if you can run for 30 minutes, you can probably play tag with your grandkids.
For sure.
If you have done handstands in here before, you might be able to have a handstand competition with your kid, right? And like be the coolest mom ever, or dad. Yeah. But like it's a wide spectrum. It's not just like we want to be able to sit down and stand up forever. It's like we also want to like be able to hike till we're 70, be able to hang out with our friends and kids and whatever, and not at them being taken care of us, but like us having quality time together.
Yeah.
You could almost just look at it. It's like you want to be able to maintain the quality of life that you want, right?
Yeah.
As long as you want, right? I mean, I always look at that. That's where kind of my fitness goals are now. It's like, I want to ski, I want to golf, I want to ride my bike into my 80s, into my 90s. Like I want to be able to do all those things. And the only way you do that is to take care of yourself now.
One of the things Jeff said during the open, when Justin asked him, because he was part of the Masters division, shout out Jeff Willis, he was asked like, why do you do CrossFit? And he said, oh, what was it? I don't want to butcher it, but it was like, I want to die as young as possible, as late as possible. And I was like, that was like just such a great way to put this message into like perspective.
I heard that quote recently. I wonder if that was from him. I'm trying to think.
I put it on the
maybe it was on one of the videos. Yeah.
On the reel, because I was like, that's just such a good way to describe what CrossFit's doing.
There was a really
I was just gonna say, and he lives that. Like I can't remember how old he is now, but when I saw his age, I was like, there's no freaking way he's that old. And like did the total with those weights and performs how he does in here and still does chest to bar pull-ups.
Right.
Like that
is cool.
I just learned this year how old he was, and I was like, there's no way.
Do you remember how old he is?
No. I'd have to look.
Another shout out to Jeff is that the total was crazy. Like I remember Josh being like, Jeff is freaking strong.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, he is. Like it was really cool.
It's grandpa strength right there.
Heck yeah. And he can play with his grandkids and all those things. So it's like, it's really, really, it's really cool to see. I love how we have a wide older generation of Masters athletes, and it's so fun to see them in here and like doing the things that they can do. It really is so awesome. Like also shout out to Kelly. She's they're in quarterfinals, and I didn't know how old they were until just barely.
Same.
And I was literally like,
and they're one of my best friends.
Yeah,
I was like,
you're what? And I'm like, They're doing ring muscle ups, they're doing bar muscle ups, and
I
they're
would say
strong.
and carry.
Yes,
I was
no,
like,
for sure. Yeah,
You
I
guys are
was
so
surprised.
capable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
It's so cool.
It
and
needs to become more
inspiring.
of the norm now for people. It's like, yeah.
Really though, it does.
It's so cool.
It does need to be part of the norm.
No, talking about that made me think of that there was a TV commercial that came out a couple of years ago where it was an older gentleman. He was picking up a kettlebell and raising it above his head in his shed, and they just showed him doing it day after day after day. And then it panned to him going to his daughter's house and picking up his granddaughter to like then put the star on the tree. And I was like, oh man, if that's not like a perfect like commercial for fitness, then I don't know what else.
One I was.
Yeah,
I cry at
it was.
everything.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah,
So that one is really good.
hits you right in the feels, but it also brings it into reality. It's like picking this up is the same as picking that up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, one's just a little squirm like
Yeah.
yeah,
One's harder.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add how the definition of fitness relates to this message of the week?
I mean, I would just say, I mean, the definition doesn't clearly, it doesn't limit to anything, right? It just says very nondescript fitness, right? It's like everything is included. It'd be hard to not find something that wouldn't fit in there, right? And that's the way our methodology, the Hopper methodology that we have, right? So,
Could you define that, the Hopper methodology?
so let's go ahead and do it. Tag in.
The Hopper just is basically saying, let's say you have 3 athletes, an endurance athlete, a strength athlete, and a CrossFit athlete, and we were to pull random things out of the Hopper, random tasks, run a mile, max deadlift, put, dig a hole and bury it again. I don't know, whatever, right? All these tasks, like the run a mile, the endurance athlete's going to take first, right? The strength test, the strength athlete's going to take first, so on and so forth. But then they're probably going to take last in what's not in their wheelhouse. And the idea is that your CrossFit athlete is going to be right in the middle average. Meg had alluded to this. We just want to be average on everything. And overarchingly, over enough tasks with enough people involved, they are going to, if you do, first is 1 point, second is 2 points, third is 3 points, etc. Overarchingly, they would take first in a competition because they're not taking last in any of those tasks, right? They're not specialists at any task. They're kind of generalists and able to adequately perform in any task that might get pulled out of the Hopper.
For example, a few years ago, Justin Medeiros won the CrossFit Games, and maybe one event he came in first.
Yeah, I think
Every
he won
other
the very last
yeah.
event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just like keeping it consistent, middle of the road, takes you so far.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, that led us in perfectly to our next thing. She said something about the specialist and then being first in their specialty and then in last in the thing that is not their wheelhouse. So this is what we're going to get into next is the way you train dictates the limits of your capacity. So what does this mean, and what's the difference of segmented training versus a methodology like CrossFit?
Good.
Yeah, I didn't read that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
segmented training is going to be you are doing isolated muscle groups, right? And so that means that I am just doing bicep curls, I am just doing hamstring curls, which this is not to say that there is no place for accessory work that is like that. There absolutely is a place for accessory work. And if that is all you are doing, then your muscles are not going to ever be trained with those higher output style of movements in a way that your body's all functioning together, right? Your biceps are going to only be trained individually and not be able to do a full pull up with your full body in a way that would be more power output. Oh, I had a thought, now I lost it.
Segmented training, and then what was the other one? CrossFit.
And more CrossFit,
Yeah.
I feel
Okay.
like no one really wants to feel limited in life. And I think it's cool that you can walk into a CrossFit gym and do just about everything. And if you can't do something right now, we have an option for you to do something similar and get better at the thing that you currently can't do but might be able to do in the future. Like there's no limit on like you will never be able to do this. Like it just reminds me of, some a friend of mine who came in here who loves lifting weights, has like over 500-pound deadlift, and then tried to do the CrossFit Open and just like died, like But everyone who's in here, maybe you don't have a 500-pound deadlift, but you have, some people have hit like 400 pounds before, and they can do pull-ups and they can run fast, like all of these different things. I think there's not many methodologies out there that allow you to step in and feel like you belong in a way.
It's awesome. I remember what I was going to say.
Heck yeah.
Those isolated movements are something you're never going to see in real life. Right. So it's like, even if we get into things like maybe you want to go play sports with your friends, you want to go play pickleball or dodgeball or something like that on even a rec league, like those are full body movements. And if you're never training that, you're only doing isolated gym movements, you are going to be less prepared for some of those things, right? If you throw a ball, that's a full body movement. If you run, that's a full body movement, right? All of those things. So the isolated, the segmented style of training just doesn't set you up as much for what's out there in the real world.
Right.
Real world example too. My husband Jack, he played football in high school, and all they trained were like deadlift, bench, clean. And then when he started doing CrossFit, like his upper body is so like large and restricted that he struggled. Like when he first joined CrossFit, he's like, I could barely lift the barbell while some old ladies next to me lifting 55 pounds, and it's demoralizing. I'm like, yeah, because your body's so used to like all that you've adapted is like those muscles, and then it creates those limitations to be able to open up and do other things that are in CrossFit and part of the world.
Right.
Well, segmenting, you could also look at it as it's another just very routine style of working out, right? It's you're isolated to one area where when you have something that's going to challenge that routine, then you're not going to be ready for it.
Right.
So,
yeah. I would even say like going back to like, when are you going to do like a bicep curl in real life? Like, yeah, okay, maybe, but I bet you're going to jump to get that up. Like everything that we do in real life is full body and a power output, right? Like it's not, it's not a power output as much to like do a bicep curl, but like even in here, every single movement pretty much that we do in here, for the most part, is a full body movement. Like today we did the shoulder press, and I'm like, okay guys, I know we're not using our legs, but we are, right? We're gonna squeeze our quads and our butt and our gut, because that's gonna make it so we can lift heavier over our head rather than being loose, right? So it's like really most of the things in here are full body movements. And also another thing I was gonna say about segmented training, and this is not all segmented training, it can limit your mobility. And I think that that is not, mobility is like not talked a lot about in here, but people are like, yeah, kipping pull-ups aren't real pull-ups, but it's like the mobility that you need to have to do a kipping pull-up, to do a butterfly pull-up, like that mobility is also important for longevity.
Yeah.
It is.
Right?
mobility and even body awareness, right? Just being able to like neurologically move your body and be in control to that point. And then maintain stability through that whole movement, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Something interesting I was thinking about when you brought up the strict press, like in here we're standing up, we're using our full body, but if you walk into some sort of like Vasa or something and you see someone strict pressing, usually they're sitting on a seat and going like this. You know what I mean? Like just completely deactivating a whole important part of the body.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not that there's no, like, again, it's not that there's no room for that,
For sure.
but your power output, the amount of fitness that you are producing is objectively less, right? Because the amount of force and the amount of distance and the amount of body that is going into that is objectively less, right? Where, you know, if you're jerking, you can do more weight, there's more movement, etc. Right. Again, we are strict pressing today. There is room for that. However, right, like you want to try and increase the movements that you're doing that produce more power.
Right. Another thing too is a lot of people and this is general, don't realize the need for power output in the world, right? A lot of the times, why do people go to the gym? Because they want to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? That is a lot of the time the focus, the energy, and the goal. Whereas in a CrossFit gym, or especially here, I feel like we really, really push, like, let's talk about the things that our body can do. Because at the end of the day, for us, because of our methodology, that's what's important here, right? Not necessarily how we look, that can be a byproduct of that. But if you really think of it outside of here, that is the goal for a lot of people. It's like, I just want to be jacked,
Yeah.
or I want to be as little and lean as possible, or whatever that looks like. So it's also just like the goals are different.
That's true.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. And the other thing, it's like if you even looking at our strict press today, that still challenges core stabilization, right?
Mhm.
Which is another big like day to day thing that's very important, is having that posterior and anterior chain stability.
Yeah.
Right. How many people pick something up and hurt their back because they
Mhm.
just don't have the right bracing? Like even doing a shoulder press today, that's still challenging all of that, and
Yeah.
it's one thing you might be missing in a segmented type training, because you're sitting on a bench. You're relying on exterior stability and not your interior.
Yeah. I would argue that core stability is the most important strength piece that you can develop.
Well, we're all quarter extremity in here,
Yeah.
right? It's all
Yeah, and that gets to, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because most of our stuff not being isolated and not being with machines develops core stability. I would say near all of it,
Mhm.
right? In one
Absolutely.
way or another.
For
So
sure.
we are training that core stability every day.
you don't think a back squat and a deadlift challenges your core, then you need to try it a little differently because it's all very important. So
Another thing that we touched on, core to extremity. So that means is when we are producing power, we try to start at our core and then we move out through our extremities. Like, is that kind of how you would define it?
Yeah.
Okay. And you realize in here, because we do so much power output and so much of that core to extremity, how little people can actually do that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It is very difficult to teach. It is very difficult to understand as an athlete. It is actually very, very hard. Like when I'm teaching a pull-up and I try to like get people to use their hips, that's really hard for people to understand. So that's like something that it would honestly be really good to develop those in earlier years in our lives. But yeah, that's something that's really hard for people to do is learn that power output through the hips and core.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I mean, I remember learning that a little bit in like senior high baseball, right? Like to swing a bat, it's all in the hips and the core. Like your arms are just really there to guide, but it's all really here and here. But like before that, there was no like, hey, you got to brace here, you got to drive. It's very little development. I feel like it might be different now. That's 20 some years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even with myself, we're finding out that I don't really use my hips very much in a lot of the movements. I just can sometimes I can fake it, right? And so it's just an important skill to learn, and I think that overall it's something that you develop and always continue developing, right? Like you're never gonna be like, got it, power there,
No.
right?
No. That'd be cool, but no.
That would be so cool. It would be awesome. What does it mean? So we kind of talked about segmented versus CrossFit methodology, but going back to that thing, saying the way you train dictates the limits of your capacity. Let's talk about those limits a little bit. So what does it mean to have holes in your training and or fitness?
So looking at the segment, and like we touched on it, it's like you're training just a specific methodology, right? So whether that's doing bicep curls or I'm running, yeah, you're gonna get really good at running. But when you're asked to move something or carry something, like that's really you're gonna falter in that, right? That'll be a hole in your fitness, something that you cannot perform to a higher degree, right? Or within your quality of life, right? And here, if you look at it, it's like you may not be good at body weight movements like pull-ups or handstand push-ups. Or for like me, like I always struggled with strength development. Like I've been plateaued for the last like 6 years on strength development. I'm okay with that because I can still do quite a lot for what I feel like, but that is a whole development, right? So you're looking at like things that you probably aren't performing proficiently in your realm of things, trying to work on those activities better. Define that. Yeah.
And to me, it's just kind of a time thing. Like the most time that you put into something is probably going to be the best thing that you do. And so if you think about it, like training, they always say if you're in the gym for 4 hours, how much better you're going to be compared to being in the gym focusing on something at high intensity, like which one's more effective. So I guess you could argue both ways with that. But if I decide this summer I'm gonna like focus on running, and then it's winter time and we're back on the rowers, and you're like, oh, I need to build my my rowing endurance back up. It's just like anything you spend more time on, the things you don't spend time on are gonna become bigger and bigger holes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that can also be outside the gym as well.
Mhm.
So, like in the 100 Words of Fitness, it says regularly learn and play new sports. And I think a lot of us as CrossFitters don't do that.
Mhm.
And I think that is a big hole in our training,
Mhm.
right? So, like, Garrett's probably a really good example of somebody who does do this, that he is out golfing, which is like that twisting, right? Like that full body twist and hit. He is constantly skiing, which is another different type of full body movement, right? We had mentioned that like odd object is something that is could be one of the most beneficial things to train, but we don't have that as much in here just because we don't have space for that, right?
Mhm.
It's not because it's not beneficial. It's just like there's only so much we can do within the walls of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking as much initiative to get out, and it can be casual, right? Like there was friends that went and very casually played pickleball this last weekend. Like that is awesome. Stuff like that is outside the gym is going to also be a hole in your training if you're not doing it, or help really develop you as an individual if you are doing it.
Yeah, this weekend I actually had a similar like experience because we went to Palm Springs and the boys went golfing, and later we played pickleball. And I was like not good at pickleball.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just can't believe how bad my hand-eye coordination is. And my ability to produce power where I want it to
Yeah.
go. Right?
Mhm.
Like I was there like
In the right amount. Too,
Exactly.
Because now you're,
yeah, exactly. And I was like, and then later I also told Josh, I was like, I really want to learn how to golf because I felt so limited.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I couldn't go with you
Mm.
when it's like,
Mhm.
I don't want to feel that way. Like I
Yeah.
want to be able to do whatever I want to do.
Mhm.
And so like, yeah, that is a hole in the training that sometimes we are in the gym and we get so focused on the things that we're doing in here
Mhm.
that we forget to go and use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use that fitness to learn and play new sports.
Yeah, because I will die on that CrossFit is the best training methodology, and we don't get a ton of like twisting motion. We don't get a ton of unilateral, and we don't get a ton of what was I gonna say? Oh, we get that coordination, but it's not the same as like the hand-eye coordination that you have, right?
Sure.
Like those ball sports
Mm.
are great at your neurological systems of development.
Right.
I would even say moving outside of the gym, but something that is super easy to work on is, like you said, mobility. And if you spend so much time in the gym, and like I love socializing, so usually I'm here for 20 to 30 minutes after class anyway. But as I'm neglecting my mobility, it's getting worse and worse by the minute. But that's also something that I come in here and then it limits you even more because some of the things you're trying to improve in your fitness require that mobility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's even beyond, sports and hand-eye coordination, just little things like that, that as it gets worse, the thing that you are focusing on that you think you're improving, by neglecting that is also like getting worse.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, like, yes, with the learn and play new sports, you can also like try different fitness regimens. I would also die that this is the best fitness regimen that you can get. And one thing that I always think is cool is like CrossFitters will go to a Pilates class and be like, that was so hard.
Absolutely.
Right?
Spin class?
Yeah,
I could
right?
never.
Which I'm saying is like, but they could do it.
I could. Yeah,
Right? Whereas potentially someone that does Pilates probably might come in here and not be able to do everything that we do in here. And that's okay
Yeah.
too, right? It's more of just like, we're not saying that this makes everything easy.
Mhm.
No, like those things outside of here, yoga is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Hot yoga is going to be worse. And like Pilates is hard. Spin class would be hard. Like all of those things are difficult and fun. And I think they like have a place. Like you can totally like play around and try new things. Try a self-defense course, or like Aaron's really good. Coach Aaron is really good at doing like
Everything.
things
Everything.
outside of here.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Everything.
she does
She's picking up new
volleyball,
stuff every week, I feel like, which is awesome. I'm always jealous of that.
things. And I do think that is beneficial for you as just in your development as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
It's funny you think you're fit until someone invites you to come play soccer.
Oh.
and I last maybe 5 minutes.
This always makes me think because it happens every year when we start paddleboarding.
Mm.
I never get so humble of just paddling my own ass around a lake. The next day, my calves hurt, my lats hurt, my back is sore. I'm like, oh my! And all I was doing was paddling around the water.
The ultimate balance and stability.
Yeah.
It is, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like every year because we only do it a few times a year, and then we're off all winter, and it's like you get on that paddleboard, and it's like it just crushes you, and it's like I'm not even like trying that hard.
Yeah.
So it's definitely so
I really like where this conversation went because we kind of talked about holes
yeah.
outside of the gym, but I'm going to kind of circle it back to bringing like holes inside of the gym,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, we all know some of us love lifting and some of us hate running, right? And so that if you're like missing those running days because you hate those days, that's going to be a hole in your training, right? And why can that be? I don't want to use this word, but why can that be a detriment to your growth in your fitness?
The thing you probably don't want to do is the thing you probably should do most for most people. And it's going to, right, if we're training for the unknown and the unknowable, then you should be training across all modal domains, all timelines, right? And that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. That doesn't even mean you have to be good at those things. But if you are training those things, even if they continue to be a weakness, you are still going to be, it's still going to be a strength compared to the general population. And it is still going to be a strength in your life that you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And even like if you take running for an example, like even if you just came half the amount of times that you would not have come, you're going to see an increase in your general fitness. It's going to help. I remember way back in the a long time ago. I remember when who's the running guy, CrossFit running guy, Chris Hinshaw. When he first started working with Rich Froning on increasing his running capacity, he was like, this is either going to ruin his strength or it's going to improve it. And he started seeing like 20-30% increases on his lift just because he actually started focusing on running, right? It's your oxidative level, like being able to transmit oxygen throughout your body and improve your muscle plasticity and your fast twitch and things like that. It's like it all kind of compounds to one another, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad you brought that up because I really wanted that point to be made is like a lot of just the times if you're working on your weaknesses, that's not going to make your strengths worse. A lot of times it pushes them forward. And actually I was having this conversation with Lindsay the other day and she was like, oh, I've been working so hard on my gymnastics and it's still my weakness. And I was like, isn't it funny? Like we always want to work on our weaknesses, but honestly, those things might always be our weakness, but we can still improve those things, right? Like, because if we're getting really good at gymnastics, she's probably also getting better at running, which is crazy. And right. And so the weakness maybe still stays here, but that doesn't mean everything's not rising together. Right. And it can definitely shorten the gap between the two, but like we're always going to have some sort of weakness. There's always going to be something we're not as good at. And it's okay if that thing stays that thing for a long time, as long as we can continuing bettering that one thing even by inches.
Yeah.
The other thing you could also look at, it's like, especially with maybe all three of you working with your one-on-one clients, is setting a realistic expectation, right? It's like you're defining it a weakness based off of what guideline, right? Is it just because I can't do 10 unbroken handstand push-ups? Well, how many can you do? Well, I can do 6. That's still really good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you do 6. How long can you do 6? Right? Can you do 6 sets of 6 within a minute? That's not a weakness anymore. Like that's really good. I think it would also be to look at, it's like define like what do you define as not a weakness anymore, right? Like where is it? Because that is kind of tough to figure out, right? Like
I love that because it's like on the Lindsay example, she's like, gymnastics are my weakness. And I'm like, yeah, and you still beat everybody at the muscle up workout. It's like you and it's just like you're so good at everything else. Like, yeah, gymnastics is your weakness, but like you have like I guess you don't have to have a weakness, but unless you're Tia or Matt, like you have a weakness. Right. Like even games athletes, right? Like so
Tia's is pegboards, right? Sorry, Tia. Just kidding. You're right about
Yeah, I'm sure she's watching.
Yeah.
So
Could be.
So I like that point, Garrett, where it's like, yeah, all of you that are listening to this are going to have a weakness.
Mhm.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have stuff that's not as strong as others.
For sure.
And-
And oh, go ahead. You go.
I was just gonna say a lot of the times things that you determine as weaknesses are because you just don't like them, and you probably don't like them because you're not very good at them.
Mm.
And so when you come in, it's like a lot of what we do, training for the unknown and unknowable, like we spend an hour in here doing the hard things so that everything else becomes easier. So it's like, if, for me, assault bike, not my favorite. So on the assault bike days, I make sure, like, if we have an option, C2 or assault, I'm picking the assault. And I'm upset about it. I'm upset about it the whole time.
Stronger than
But then the next time I get on the assault bike, it's like, okay, I'm a little bit better at this, so I feel a little better. I like it a little more. It's not my favorite still, but just practicing choosing the things that you don't like so you can get better at them, so you like them a little more.
exposure therapy.
Yeah,
Just
I would
the more
say
you do it, the better it's gonna
really
be.
though. And a lot of times, like, running is something that I don't love, but like I know that
Mhm.
I am way better at CrossFit when I'm in good running shape.
Mhm.
And then it makes the thing that I enjoy, which is CrossFit, which has to do with running, but not isolated running at that moment. So it's like, it makes that more fun, right? We don't need to neglect our strengths,
Mhm.
but we just shouldn't neglect our weaknesses
Mhm.
either.
For sure. I think Meg also makes a really good point is like intentionality when you approach the things that you don't like. Because I'm the opposite. If a machine is up, then I go chill on that and then make up the time somewhere else. Where like that is a hole in my training. It would be more beneficial for me to go hard on a machine or a deadlift because I hate those and I suck at them, and then see if I can hold on the other things that I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so especially if you're on the more competitive end, I challenge you to start doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. It's interesting because there is also like, this is another like playing to your strengths.
Mhm.
Because like, for instance, I talked to Lindsay quite a bit, and it's like, she knows that she's strong in some things, so she'll go really, really fast in those things so that she has more time
Yeah.
on her weakness.
I do the same thing.
Right? And so it's like, but not everyone likes that way of training. Some people are like, I'm going to go a little bit easier in this part where that I'm in strength so that I feel more fresh for my weakness. So right, there's two different ways to like kind of go about it. There's a lot of different ways to build your weaknesses up. What are some other ways while we're on the topic?
What did we cover so far? Doing it?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just do it.
I think
Yeah.
doing it is the first one. Intentionality with it is the second one. I also think you talk about this a lot, is like setting little goals with those individual things, right? When they come up, like no matter what happens, I'm going to hold this pace, or no matter, even if my workout goes to shit, I'm going to do these sets, even if it messes up other things.
I was just thinking that same thing, is like challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it affects some of the things that you are good at.
And you don't want to do that every day.
Yeah.
Right, because you still want to hit stimulus, but occasionally if you have goals to improve some of those weaknesses, stuff like that can be effective. Depending on what it is, maybe some individual help from a coach can be very beneficial.
Try to set realistic goals.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, that's a
And
good
talk to people in here. Like, what is a realistic goal for you? Not everybody's good at setting that. So make it smart.
I think with CrossFit too, every day you have programming and there's always a stimulus. So if it's, this is for time. So I want you to go fast. Okay, I know, like right now I'm having a hard time with chest to bar. So the other day I'm like, I need to go fast, so I think I'm just gonna do pull-ups today. But if it was like we're doing an AMRAP and essentially like I don't need, like, you kind of let go of, I need to have the most rounds in here, and decide, okay, today is going to be my day that I practice chest to bar no matter how many rounds I get, because the stimulus is the coach told me to pick a hard pull-up option. So like keeping those things in mind too, like there are days to practice. I love this. The Ben, I always forget his name. Bergeron. He was Katrin's coach, right? Yeah, so the whole practice, train, compete thing. Like there's days you practice where you kind of take a step back and you work on the things you need to work on, but then there's days where you're training, so you're kind of pushing the limit, improving the things that you're good at, and then there's competing where it's, you kind of don't have a choice, like the open. Like there's chest to bar, so I'm going to do it regardless, but knowing the difference between when to take a step back and practice versus like keeping the stimulus, I think.
I love that.
I think on that note, you need to be okay scaling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so like maybe it's like, okay, chest bar is my focus. That's going to slow me down. So I need to pull back either reps on that, or I need to pull back somewhere else to make sure that I maintain the flow with the class or maintain my good movement or whatever else that might be.
One thing that can help with this too, because I know a lot of this is hard mentally for the people in here, is like scaling, but having a pre-plan can help that mentally. Like, okay, today I'm coming in and I am putting this on the practice day. Like today is practice for me, so I am going to, how am I going to make this a practice day? Or right, like maybe today, say we were maxing out our back squat, you could be like, okay, today is my compete day. I'm going to do as heavy as I can. Whereas maybe the next day there's some skills you want to practice and you're ready to pull the intensity back. You can define that as a practice day rather than considering every day the same and then coming in and feeling down on yourself that you need to scale. Scaling is one way to get fitter.
Yeah. Totally.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Be okay with failure as well.
Oh, yeah.
You look at skills like handstand walking, you're going to fall down. Be okay falling down. It's going to happen.
Right.
Or missing pull-ups or missing the time domains. Like be okay with that, because the only way you're going to grow is to continue to fail forward. Right. So
I also think a lot of people need to take an honest look at if they actually need more volume with that thing or if they just need more intention with that thing. Because often you don't need more volume.
Yeah,
with
very
it,
true.
Or with your training. Sometimes you do. But if you do, you need to make sure that you're fueling appropriately. If you are not fueling yourself appropriately and you try to increase your training, it's going to be shit.
Yeah.
Right. So just like really having very realistic, like Garrett has talked about, be realistic with your goals, be realistic with your intention, and be realistic with what you're putting your body through.
some of that could also change. Where are you trying to learn a new skill, or are you trying to increase capacity of the skill, right? So it's like, oh, you have it, you just can't do a lot of them at a certain time. Okay, then we have to figure out, like, try to do it right before you fail, and then just keep doing that, try to increase that capacity, versus like, I don't have handstand push-ups. Okay, let's work on building that strength and confidence in those things.
This
Right?
goes right into our message of the week: mechanics, consistency, intensity. Where are you on that scale with this skill?
Yeah.
Are you in the mechanics phase where you're building strength and learning how to do the skill? Or do you have 5 to 6 of those skills without intensity and you're ready to add in intensity? Like, where are you at? You got to be honest with yourself in order to know what to do next, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think another thing that we can just touch on quickly is, because CrossFit is a lifestyle, it's not just holes in your training. There can also be some holes in your lifestyle that you can kind of start to notice. Like, okay, maybe I have some holes in my nutrition, some holes in my sleep, some holes in my recovery process, my mobility. Like, there's a lot of places. No one is going to have a full puzzle.
Rewind to last month or last week, nutrition matters, right? You
Right.
can't have a shitty diet, right?
Exactly.
Well, and relating it to unknown and unknowable, if you're practicing healthy nutrition habits because you care about your nutrition to help with CrossFit, that transfers to, I showed up to this family party and I had no clue what they were serving that day. There's hot dogs, there's pizza, but okay, there's also like a veggie tray that I could pull from. Like, you can walk into situations like that with so much more confidence because you're practicing it regularly for those unknown situations.
Absolutely. Anything else you guys want to say on this topic? All right, guys, you heard it here first. We train for the unknown and unknowable. Thank you for joining us.